Great. All right, so we've gotten started. Let's see. Looks like we have 4 attendees right off the bat. This is great. Numbers are climbing. Well, for those of y'all who are joining us, my name is Logan Reed. I am an assistant dean of admission. I'll give it another minute or so while we have people rolling in, and then we'll have maybe we could have each of our panelists kind of introduce themselves and a little about themselves, and we'll go get started with kind of any questions that you all might have about the William and Mary experience being a parent or family member. So we'll just give it another minute or so. And thank you all so much for joining us virtually. I know this isn't the ideal, but we're working with it and making it happen. So we appreciate it. All right. And while we're waiting for people to come in, if you all want to post in any questions that you all might have in the Q&A section, that will make it a lot easier for us to be able to sift through the various questions that you all might have and be able to answer as many as possible during this session. If you have any general information that like maybe technical difficulties or anything like that, you can post that in the chat, but please try and keep the questions to the Q&A section. It's just a lot easier to be able to sift through it and make sure we can get to all the questions. So feel free to start throwing questions in the Q&A section. And if each one of our panelists actually just want to go ahead and introduce themselves, just so then we know where these panelists are coming from. David, if you want to get us started, then we can go around.
Hello, I'm David Daggett, and my wife Cynthia is on, even though we're in 2 separate places. We are parents of a daughter, Annecy, who's a graduating senior. And we had the days, 37 days? Is that what it is? Something like that. And we are from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. We've been on the Parent Family Council all 4 years, and we have fallen in love with William and Mary. And we are so sad that this is our last go around with Admitted Students Day.
We remember about 4 years ago today when our daughter went to Admitted Students Day at William and Mary, and it has been such a quick 4 years. You're just not going to believe it.
Hi, I'm Kyle Shockley.
And I'm Chris Shockley, and we're from the Richmond, Virginia area. And we have a daughter, Caroline, who's a freshman. And we have a incoming freshman, Courtney. So we'll have 2 daughters there at William and Mary. And David and Cynthia have passed that passion and love of William and Mary along to us. So we've fallen in love as well with William and Mary, and we're excited to be here with you all today to answer your questions. And we look forward to engaging with you and meeting you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mark Sykes. I'm the Vice Dean for Student Success. This is my 15th year at William and Mary, and one of the things that I have the privilege of doing is working with families. I have to tell you that our Shockleys and the Daggetts are beloved families because they're engaged. They give us honest feedback and help us make our students and their experiences successful. I'm excited that you're here today, and I really hope that you can ask lots of questions of our families. You know, I have asked them to be honest and upfront about anything that you'd like to know about William and Mary. We can also answer questions from the administration as well.
Hi, everyone. My name is Heather Deer, and I am the Assistant Director of Parent and Family Programs here at William and Mary. Welcome and congratulations to your students. We're so excited to be chatting with you this afternoon. Parent and Family Programs really believes that parents and families are partners in our students' success, and our office is here to facilitate that partnership and to be a support for all of our families and the supporters of our students. So happy to answer some of your questions today.
Hi, I'm Anna Cease, Associate Director of Parent and Family Giving and Student Affairs Philanthropy. I work very closely with our Parent and Family Council. So glad to know Chris and Kyle and David and Cynthia on the council, and happy to be here to hear your questions and welcome you to the tribe.
Great. So we already got a couple questions posted. And just a reminder, I know there's a question in the chat. That's perfectly fine. But in the future, if you can throw it in the Q&A, that would be appreciated. So someone asked, what are the freshman dorms like? And so I don't know how much experience you all have had that. If anyone wants to jump in with that question about what the freshman dorms are like. Mark, I know you've been here for a while, so I know you've definitely seen the ins and outs of residence halls, but I don't know if anyone else wants to jump in on that one.
We'll jump in. Our daughter's a freshman this year, and we only have the experience of the one dorm, so Cynthia and David can also chime in, but they're dorms, and really what matters is the connections they make in the dorms. I feel like so. They've got, she has a hall restroom and a hall bathroom, a hall shower, and there's a sink in the room, and she's been fine with that. But really what's been great about the dorm are the connections that she's made with the other students and the friends that she's made that we think has been really neat for Caroline. And she's called us progressively less and less, and the days will go by and we're like, have we heard from Caroline in a few days? So that's kind of bittersweet for us in some ways, but it's really more sweet knowing that she's growing up. So
I'll speak a little bit to that question as well. Our daughter was in Monroe Hall, and it also was a dorm, very nice tall ceilings, but it was an older building with a hall bath and a sink in the room. But the most important thing that happened there were those freshman hallmates that she became very, very close with. And I saw another question came through about, can introverts and extroverts, everybody find their place on campus? Well, that was the first place that our daughter fit in on campus, because she's very shy and reserved and introverted and was terrified to go off to college. And we didn't know it till the day we were packing her up to get her in the car, and we couldn't get her in the car to leave the house. But she was petrified. But within 3 hours of us waving goodbye and her connecting with those hallmates, we saw her later on campus, and she just gave us the biggest wave, the biggest grin you've ever seen. And those girls, that 14 of them in that hall, are still very, very tight and some of the closest friends that she'll ever have.
I was going to tell Kyle and Chris, we don't hear from our daughter, it's every other week or so. It's not every other day. The other thing I'd laughingly say is and Cynthia and I have completely drinking the William and Mary Kool-Aid. And so take everything I say with a grain of salt. But one of the things that I will say is it's a wonderful academic institution. And in our touring schools and with 2 other kids at other colleges or colleges to be, our experience is the fanciness of the dorms is inversely proportional to the academics and the quality of the students. So the places that focus on, all the fanciful things in the dorms don't have the student relationships in the academics. At William and Mary, our experience, now the couple of them have been updated and are pretty nice, but most of the dorms are just dorms, and they are wonderful. They are filled with engaging, smart students who get along together, and the relationships blossom over their career. And that is the most important part of the living arrangements, are the relationships that are formed, some of which will be lifelong.
I agree. Families, I will tell you that there is a variety of residence halls, platforms that we have. Most of the freshmen live in a double loaded corridor. There's 2 students in a space about this big. We encourage you not to bring a trailer full of stuff with you, that there's only so much room. As you know, if you're from Virginia, the weather is pretty great through 1st of November, shorts and maybe light sweaters. So you don't need to pack everything. I will tell you that some exciting news that we have launched and are at the ending stages of a complete renovation 10-year plan, and we're going to be beginning to implement that plan as soon as I think next year. And it's a 10-year plan to renovate pretty much all of our residence halls on campus except the brand new ones. And so some of your students who do choose to live on campus all 4 years are going to experience not only that construction, which is great because that's growth happening, but at the same time, we'll have more options for amenities if that is important to you. But David, I both share your sentiment and Cynthia's that the residence halls are a place that you really get to know. And the thing that I think is most successful, and I tell all families this, if you can by 3 or 4 weeks in say that I have a friend and I have made a connection, that is what's the most important about our residence halls.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, there's a question in Q&A that I saw about safety. I don't think our daughter has ever had any concerns about safety at all. The students look out for each other. They care for each other. The campus police chief, she used to be a police chief of a campus in our town here in North Carolina, and I've known her since then. She's top quality. The officers are very assistive to the students, not enforcing to the students. And I think it's a very safe, accommodating place, and we have not had the first concern.
We have a community policing model here at William & Mary where we are not going to engage in enforcement from the outset unless that is something that is necessary. I think that the relationships that our officers have had and with our students, I will tell you, Chief Cheesebro, if she's like 5 feet tall, she's tall. I mean, that's like saying a lot. I think that in general, Williamsburg, one of the reasons why we moved our family here 15 years ago with small children is moving from Baltimore to Williamsburg. We felt that is a safe community. Now, with that, we always say, you shouldn't walk by yourself in the middle of the woods in the middle of the night. Always walk with somebody. You know your surroundings.
Sure.
Make sure that you're in a group if you're leaving the library at 2 a.m. But we do have a golf cart system, and William & Mary Police will escort you back to your residence hall if you are traveling by yourself. And we have lots of apps that you can, with students' permission, that families can track where they are at certain hours. And not like we're watching everything that's going on, but the student says, hey, mom and dad, I'm leaving the library now, and you can track my phone until I get to my residence hall. And then it expires. But there is, I do believe that this is a safe community, but with every safe communities, we are prepared for any contingency.
I'll tag on to that also, that the Williamsburg community is very supportive of the students and get along with the students. There's some schools we toured where there's friction between communities and schools. There's not that friction in Williamsburg. And in fact, when we were there for the first fall break, or maybe it was Admitted Students Day, the picnic out in front of the Wren building, the mayor of Williamsburg was there and was walking around to all the tables greeting new students and thanking them for coming to William & Mary. And, things like the city bus system allowing the students to ride free with their student ID cards makes it just all enhances the relationship with the city. And I think that relationship also adds to both the quality of the experience, but also the safety of the community.
Heather, I know that you're a newer member of our team. You've been here for about 1.5 years, and you are not as seasoned as we are on the call. What is your experience being a young professional in Williamsburg, to sort of get a little bit of context?
Sure. We're approaching 2 years. So I think something that's been really warm and I've loved to see as a new professional, and especially as a young lady in Williamsburg, is that I really enjoy being able to walk Colonial Williamsburg, to walk campus, all of our outdoor spaces, and feel very welcomed into the community. And it's something that I've really enjoyed. Something I love about Williamsburg, and I know some of our families can attest to that, is your favorite restaurants that you always come to when you visit Williamsburg. You know, that jar of house dressing that you always pick up from the cheese shop to bring home with you. And I think even as a young member of the community, I've found that to be very true, that I have the spots that I love to go to and are feeling very welcomed, as sometimes people think I'm a student. And I find it to be very true that everyone is very welcoming and it's a very supportive community.
Yeah, and speaking of kind of being a welcoming and supportive community, and I know we kind of touched on this earlier, but someone asked, do you think every type of person can find their group at William & Mary? Introvert, extrovert, athlete, non-athlete, et cetera, et cetera.
To me, I will provide an answer of my experience working with students here. I think William & Mary is very individualistic in that whatever you are and whatever you represent, whatever your background is or whatever your desires are, we start and want students to be authentic in who they are and their own person first. You will find that there are some campuses out there that have a strong social influence by fraternities and sororities. Our participation is about 24 to 25% in any sort of Greek organization. And so you'll hear students say that, oh, I'm a math major, I'm a member of the guacamole club, oh, and I'm a member of this fraternity or sorority. So it doesn't have a hold on the social life. I think that there is a variety of students on campus. We have introverts, we have extroverts. My wife and I are both huge extroverts, and both my children are very staunch introverts. And even my children, who are both in high school, find that they feel comfortable and feel safe and feel a part of the William & Mary community, even though they've both indicated that because Dad, you're the dean, we're never coming there. So that's just a little anecdotal information.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that one of the things that William & Mary does a wonderful job of is the freshman orientation, and making sure that Caroline's an introvert. Caroline's going to kind of stand in the corner and soak it all in, but they made sure that she was engaged. Her RA she was checking on her. She was making sure she was involved and engaged, and they made sure she wasn't eating alone, because we were worried about that. But they, like I said, she'll go 4 or 5 days and won't call us now, and she tells us some places she's been around campus. We don't know what any of them mean, but she's just really found connections, and it really warms our heart. So, but that orientation was a real key moment for her, and William & Mary just nailed it. And Mark and I had a conversation not too long ago, and it was about housing and connecting students with housing. And I told him, I said, you all know what you're doing there. And he's like, yeah, we kind of been doing it for a while. So that's also a part of it, is when they answer that questionnaire about, here's what I I get up at 10 in the morning and I'm kind of sloppy and some of those things. William & Mary does a really thoughtful job of making sure they make those connections. And so that's part of it, and in the club. So absolutely, yes, Caroline has absolutely found that.
I wish everybody could be live for Admitted Students Day. I'll still get tears in my eyes when our daughter, we took her for Admitted Students Day, and the students formed a tunnel for the new kids to walk through and to congratulate and to welcome. And then on move-in day at the school, I mean, it's like the most exciting experience I've ever been to. There's students everywhere in front of every dorm cheering and welcoming the new students. And, sometimes they have treats, and it's a very welcoming place. But what you can see right from the beginning is how important relationships are in the William & Mary community, and those start being fostered right away.
Yeah. So next question. Have your students found there's a good work-life balance?
I'll say yes. Our daughter is very studious. she's done very well at William and Mary. We're not allowed to tell where she's going to grad school because we're not allowed to tell that until she announces it. But she's going to an Ivy League grad school, so she's done spectacular. She teaches fitness classes at the fitness center. She's in a dance company that she's very involved in. She leads a 0 to 5K running program on campus. She's on the Student Culinary Council. And so she's been able to weave in a lot of activities into her academics. That being said, William and Mary is a rigorous academic community. It was interesting, and Mark, we were at a football game, and we stayed till halftime, and then she wanted to leave to go study. And so I left with her, and it was interesting. I decided I would go look in the library, and I walked by the library. There was as many students in the library as there were in the football stadium. So I mean, I think there's a balance there, but make no doubt, it's a rigorous academic community, but it's the students have fun, and I call it a whistle while you work community. They're all happy and engaged while they're working hard with like-minded students.
And I think that's a great point. And I would call it, instead of a balance, I would call it a blend. I think that, you know, when there's a balance, there's two things at the end, you know, the fulcrum in the middle. And just like their daughter, Caroline, you know, for her first semester freshman year, she rushed a sorority. She got involved in InterVarsity. She was in a Wednesday night Bible study. She joined another club for like a dental club. And now she's forming another club with some students, and she made Dean's List. And so she was able to blend all that together, but still make sure the academics are a priority. But it's, you know, William and Mary, you know, your students, obviously they got admitted, they're very bright. And they'll make sure they find that ability to blend it. And it's there for them to do those things. My only regret is that there weren't some football players or some strong students to help me lift the boxes up the 3 flights of stairs. So she did all that, actually, truth be told. The dorms, there's some without elevators, just be warned. So start your, Dave, I think, is a triathlete, so he had no problems with it, but I need to start my cardio now. But anyways, I digress.
I'd like to add one thing on that topic, and that is, I think the stress and pressure at William and Mary, the students put it on themselves, as opposed to some colleges where it's a very competitive structure, student versus student. And you don't find that at William and Mary. William and Mary, the students are trying to help each other and work it together for the benefit of each individual. So I think that's really important part of the culture at William and Mary.
And Caroline's had a couple of senior ladies, women, take her under their wing to help with some of the academics and say, hey, you might want to think about this. And so it's been some great advice. So that's it's just kind of the student at William and Mary.
Cynthia, I think what I will definitely mimic what you've already said. It is, you know, I think the high school environment can be very competitive to get your ranking, and you're sort of working against everybody else that is there. Here, you got into William and Mary, and we expect you to graduate. We have a very high percentage of our students who graduate in 4 years. We have some students that graduate in 2.5 or 3, depending on what the desire is. We have a huge population of students that go on to graduate school. And so I think that one of the things that we try to teach at William and Mary is, you're here, you belong here, and we're going to help you be successful in whatever that means. You know, for me, working at a small private institution before coming to William and Mary, it very much feels to me like we operate like a small private institution. We have that high touch, we have that connection points. I'm available, and I can say our parents, I talk to them when they need me, and help their students in ways that they need it. And so the environment here is not this academically competitive against each other, but everybody's excited to be here to learn together. It is still shocking to me. Like, I was driving my daughter on a golf cart the other day, and we were going down by one of the dining halls, and students were walking and they were having a debate over some intellectual thing, and they had like footballs in their hand. And I'm like, really? Like, you're walking and still having intellectual debate? And I'm thinking, you know, what's time for the peanut butter and jelly sandwich? So,
oh, yeah. And then so somebody said quirky students, not a bad thing. Can you elaborate? I think Mark just described it, and that's no, it's not a bad thing. But they're smart, they're intellectual, and they some of them are a little quirky, but they're great.
Yeah. So next question is, it's kind of going off the same vein here, is what do you think makes William Mary students the #1 happiest students? I know we've kind of mentioned some reasoning behind that, but if y'all wanted to elaborate a little bit more, we can feel free to do that.
I'm a huge fan of Kelly Craze, who's vice president of wellness, and does a course on flourishing. And I think that is probably a big reason for that, is that the students are educated and developed to flourish academically and as human beings. And I think that's just endemic to the William & Mary culture. They weave it into everything, I think.
I would say that the elements of wellness and well-being are intertwined into just about everything that we do, from our out-of-classroom experiences to our in-classroom experiences. I think that that happiness, I think, comes from within, and students project not only the confidence that this is the place I belong, that I fit in here, that this is, you know, you get on campus and you see the beautiful trees and the sweeping sunken garden, and there's just, it speaks to you that says, yep, you know, we've been to five or six other places to look, but this is where I'm going. They're like, really? This is, you know, are you sure? And they're like, nope. It's like something you fall in love with as soon as you come to campus. That is just this calming influence. I think too that we are aware of the national research and the national trends on how to ensure that we have an early intervention program for students that may need our assistance. I think that we are very good at recognizing and getting the assistance to students that may need that. I think too, our classrooms are small. You know, I know you are the statistics, we're 11 to 1 and that sort of thing, but the size is a very expensive model, but the result of it. I'm sorry. Did you lose me? Am I still here?
I can hear you.
Okay.
I don't know if everyone else can. I know David looks like frozen.
Well, I'll continue, and Logan, you just tell me to stop if it is me. But
okay.
To me, I think our faculty care about teaching, and they care about being in the classroom with the student. It's not a graduate student that is providing the education for your student, it's our faculty. And that connection, I think, really comes across as incredible to create the feeling of happiness, because they feel satisfied and connected with their experience, whether it's inside the classroom or outside. Now, is every day full of bliss and roses? No. But I think that we try to help our students stop taking stock and judging themselves moment to moment. How am I doing this moment? How am I doing this moment? And realizing that you do belong here. You do have what's necessary to be here. And we're going to help you be successful, whether that means you need a little bit of help academically in one course, or we connect you to an upper class student to help provide that sort of wing, or the Dean of Students office where you may need us that you don't know that you need us. So we're here for our students.
There's a question in there for the parents from North Carolina regarding geographic diversity. And so I think that the school is limited by Virginia statute as to the percentage of out-of-state students that they can have. The or more than 50% of the applications are from out of state. And
yes, I can confirm that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's well more than 50%. And it's really interesting to us that, and one of the things I keep telling William & Mary that I think you should sell is it is the only small elite public school in the country. And being a small elite public school, it feels a lot like a private school. We have a daughter at a small elite private school. It has much of that same feel, but it also has an organic socioeconomic diversity that I think is invaluable to the student body. And, you know, our daughter has friends from literally all over the country and all over the world at William & Mary, and we have not found any issue with the geographic diversity being a barrier of any sort. And in fact, I think it's just as good as the geographic diversity of our other daughter that's at a private small elite school. Would you agree with that, Cynthia?
I was sitting here thinking Caroline describes her friends, and she's going to I think there's is there a farmer's market or something that happens on Saturdays?
Yes.
The two people that she's going to go there with, one's from Connecticut, one's from St. Louis, and then Sunday she's doing something, and those two folks, one's from Kansas, the other one's from California. And I was like, so she has no friends from Virginia. She does here, but all of her other friends are from outside the state, which is just, that's another neat thing that I'm not going to repeat what David said, but also a diverse group of friends as well. So
yeah, the other thing somebody asked about going to Virginia for internships, jobs, dining out, cultural events, is the William & Mary community is pretty dynamic. And with Colonial Williamsburg right next door, going other places for dining, and you're in a tourist town, so there's lots of dining. And there's plenty of cultural events, within steps of your dorm, and certainly within steps of campus. And there's so much to do, and it goes by so fast. There's not a whole lot of time to go explore Richmond, for example, although Richmond's wonderful.
Yeah. And I can confirm that we've got students from all 50 states and about 60 different foreign countries. So we definitely have a lot of diversity from a lot of different areas across the country and across the world. And speaking of Richmond, someone asked, we visited campus recently and it's beautiful and the town is great, but do students ever go to Richmond for internships, jobs, dining out, cultural events? Is that kind of the question you were referencing when you're talking about that? I wasn't sure if anyone else wanted to elaborate on that, or if we feel like that's a good enough. That's good.
Yeah. And then to tie a couple other questions together, because I've had experience with the Cohen Career Center, and there's questions about internships, and there's a question about grad school help and that sort of thing. And the Cohen Career Center, in my opinion, does a very good job. They helped our daughter prepare for grad school interviews. She's a psychology major. The psychology professors obviously wrote wonderful reference letters and helped guide her for grad school. And we feel like that support was, it's there in many ways. I've been thrilled with Cohen Career Center. I think they just do a wonderful job. I've had externs in my office every year that I've been a parent, and have just been so impressed and pleased with those students.
I will tell you that there are venues for large concerts that are in Richmond or in DC or in Virginia Beach. And for those students that want to get together with their friends and travel and do that sort of thing, it is close. I would say that we are a community, especially our first year and second year students are not allowed to have cars. And so you really sort of depend on each other, the transportation system that's here in Williamsburg. And there are options for students who want to participate in other things outside of the community. But I think once you find when you get here is that the community, especially during your first year, has most of what you need. And that is it's very important. Often it's our upper class students who are venturing out of the community, looking for other opportunities. There's jobs on campus. We have a lot of jobs on campus for those students who are looking or seeking employment opportunities in offices. We are hiring, have already hired 2 students for this summer, and both of them are first year students that are going to come work for us this summer part-time because they're going to do some summer school and work for us. So that there are opportunities where everywhere around the corner.
And then with the kind of post-grad school and whatnot, we have a lot of pre-grad school type advisors for sure, for pre-law, pre-vet, pre-dental, pre-med. We have various different workshops that happen and advisors that help you through that process. So I think an interesting question would be, what is your favorite tradition for incoming freshmen? And I guess I could expand that of what are you all's favorite tradition at William & Mary, since there's such a variety of them?
Well, for incoming freshmen, they have a convocation day when they're all up at the Wren building, the oldest building on campus, and they all kind of go flying through there, and there's a tunnel of older students there welcoming them. And we only saw it by video. We didn't actually get to be there in person, but it just gives chill bumps up your spine when you see it, because they suddenly feel like really are a part of this community.
You say the oldest building on campus, it's the oldest building on any campus.
Correct.
In fact, it's right behind Heather's head.
It is. You know, I can tell you that for me, the tradition that I participate in every year since I've been here is Yule log. I think that the start of school traditions are really important to the students. I think in our community, I think Yule log is, I finished a semester and I'm here. I'm a part of William & Mary. I have all but completed everything from journey this semester, and now let's go and be together. Every year, our vice president for student affairs, for the entire time she's been here, makes up a brand new poem about what happened in the student community that year. And it all rhymes. And how she does that, I don't know. And she said it's the single most thing that causes the most amount of stress all year is creating that speech. But to me, you see faculty, you see town community members, the mayor, you see our administrators and our students come together. Colonial Williamsburg comes over and puts these huge fire things on the lampposts and actually have real fires that lighting the area. And it's just a strong celebratory of faith and tradition from a lot of variety of what faith means to you. And it is, and students really carry a Yule log, and they once a year light the fire in the Wren building and have, half a dozen fire people just in case, because that building has burned 3 times. So they don't want it to happen in December. So that's my favorite tradition.
Yeah, and so another question, and we're also answering some questions, just typing it out, just so we can be able to get through all the questions if possible. So if you're wondering why we haven't mentioned your question, we might have just typed the answer. So you should be able to view all the typed answered questions, as well as there's other links that are being posted in the chat as resources. So one person asked, when will we know for sure the percentage of in-person classes? So as far as I know, most of them for the fall, but I don't know, Mark, if you had any, or any of you all had any updated statistics on that.
I think that right now today, Mark Sykes is going to tell you that we are doing everything that we can to plan for full in-person session. Now, and as David said earlier, we are a state institution and we are required to follow the guidelines as set forth by the Commonwealth of Virginia and the governor's office. I am truly, truly hoping that we can be fully in person in the by the time August gets here. You know, I look at our vaccination numbers and where we are as a community, and I'm feeling confident. I heard the president say in another meeting this morning that we are going to do everything that we can to have our graduation ceremony this year in person, and we keep inching towards that. So I'm really hoping that the vaccines will continue to be provided, and those opportunities for us to be in person next year. So can't guarantee, but everything is pointing in that direction. But I think that for those students or family members who are feeling as if they either need to look at some sort of blended experience and they aren't comfortable traveling, I think that we would have an option for those students and family members to make a decision for what's best for them. Again, I can't guarantee that, but that is the conversations that we've been having. And I hope that they're able to make the decision sooner than later. Last year, they had to make some decisions end of July, 1st of August, and it was kind of crazy to sort of implement in a couple of weeks. Heather can attest to that, sort of changing gears into a blended approach. But
yeah, I think
cross our fingers.
Something I want to highlight with, I've seen a couple questions that are, what has COVID protocols looked like and what does the fall look like? And I think something that has stood out to me is that William and Mary has approached our planning in a very phased way. And so we're able to make decisions based on what we're seeing in real time. And so our COVID response team, the president, everyone who's working on the ground to make sure that our community is safe is making these decisions in a way that we can react to what's happening as it's happening. And so that's why we, in general, think that in the fall we'll be as close to in person as possible, but know that the health and safety of our community is our utmost concern. And we'll make a phased decision to best meet the needs of our students so that they can live, learn, and be together in this community safely.
Well, I wanted to talk about in-person classes. Caroline shows up last August. And so for the first 2 weeks, no in-person classes, but then her stats class is in person. Her Call 150 was a psych class in person. And the psych professor, I think he was older than me by a good margin. He's there in person teaching, didn't miss a beat. She had another one that was a couple that were online. And then this semester, she has in-person classes, professors sitting in a class, engaged with her. So I was on a call earlier. We were with Peggy Aguras, the provost, and kudos to her for really pushing for that to happen. So, and candidly, one of the things that they can't do is they can't go into one another's dorms. So Caroline can't go from CAM over to, I don't know another name, but another dorm. And it's for safety reasons so that they're not super spreading. But they are having in-person classes, and these professors are showing up and they're making it happen.
And there's lots of wonderful outdoor spaces that have been created. And I assume some of those will stay because they're so good. I think they're just wonderful.
Oh yeah, we would hate to see those beautiful bistro lights, Adirondack chairs, all of those enhancements. I think that the students will make sure that those stick around.
So,
and I know a lot of people are asking if the vaccine will be required for students. I don't know if that, do you all know if that decision, okay, I was gonna say, Mark, you got this.
While the CDC is in emergency use authorization, William and Mary will not require students to have the vaccine. We will strongly encourage it. And I think that you're going to see not a vaccine passport, but I think that we have already started relaxing some of our policies on campus, saying that if you've been fully vaccinated, you don't have to go to testing next week. And while we're still requiring them to wash their hands, socially distance, and wear their mask, students are feeling a little bit more, having a little bit more agency as the weather is getting warmer. And looking at the percentage of our students right now who have already had both vaccines, I thought, wow, our students are very innovative. They have traveled in Virginia to find those vaccines so that it gives them the ability to do more things. So we won't require it, but we are going to strongly recommend.
And then a question that was asked in the Q&A and the chat, one said, why did you choose William and Mary? And then another said, what are your kids' majors and why did they choose William and Mary? So I guess there's kind of a twofold of why did the parents choose William and Mary, and then why did your kids choose William and Mary?
In case the Daggetts, our daughter definitely made the decision. We thought, that's her decision to make. We're here to answer questions and give her input when she asks our advice, but it's her decision. And I think it was an intuition thing. Someone mentioned before that a student walked onto the campus and fell in love with it and knew that was the place they wanted to be. I think that's what it was for her. She just had a feeling when she was on that campus that that's where she wanted to be. It just felt right, felt like home.
Caroline applied early decision and was deferred. And then in regular decision, she was waitlisted. And then she was pulled from the wait list. So Caroline candidly went on a letter writing campaign to Tim Wolf and probably to Logan, and I think sent air mails, and I don't know what all she did, but she fought like heck to come to William and Mary. And I think it's a story she doesn't mind us sharing now, but she wasn't selected right off the bat. So that's why it was important for her to come in there, and she made the dean's list, and this was her choice. Yeah, she actually told us she wrote Tim Wolf a note and let him know that he didn't waste a pick. So this was her choice, and she fought like heck to be there, and she's proud. She loved it because of the classroom size, because she wanted to be challenged. She didn't want to go somewhere that was easy. She wanted to be pushed. And she said that from back when she was a freshman or sophomore. So kudos to her.
Hey, Logan, we got that hanging question here on the registration experience and the technical glitch that we had this year. Let me, I'm going to hit that from 2 points of view. Number one, our daughter in 8 semesters didn't have any trouble registering for classes, finding classes, getting advised on classes, that whole thing. The other thing is, I'm assuming you probably got this information off the Facebook page where some people complained about that. I would just warn you that that parent and family Facebook page for some reason pulls out the negative Nellies. And the problem isn't as bad or widespread as it sounded on there. And the staff and the university jumped in to solve all those issues. And I have not heard of students having classes they needed or really wanted that they couldn't get into. I mean, I think that's a pretty rare thing to happen. And I wouldn't let that overly concern you in any way.
David, I agree. And one of the things too, when Caroline was heading into freshman year, all of her friends were registered for classes, and she's like, "Dad, I'm not registered, and they won't let me register until I get on campus. What is this?" And I was like, "I don't know. I've never gone to William and Mary." And she was panicking because all of her, it was the FOMO, fear of missing out. And of course, she calls us about 2 or 3 days after being there, and she goes, "Dad, this was the best thing ever, because I got to meet with an advisor in person. They told me, yeah, that would not have been good for you to have done that. Let me steer you this way." They answered my questions, and I'm in classes that really fit better in my schedule, et cetera. And it kind of goes back to what Mark said to me a few weeks ago. Yeah, we kind of know what we're doing here. And he was, he had his tongue in his cheek, but that was another thing too they really truly know what they're doing. And so I agree with David. We don't get on that Facebook page because it really, there's some info there that's good, but there's a lot of noise sometimes that isn't healthy necessarily, just being candid.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you that we do have a current software issue. That is, we have a load balancer sequencer issue with the software. And what we did was we watched students as they register live. And the second that we had issues, we shut down registration for everyone. We did not want to give a unbalanced or unequitable leg up to someone who was able to get in and register versus those students that didn't have the ability to get in and register. And so instead of limping along with registration until it was fixed, we just shut it down for everybody. We tried again this week and we're still having that same software issue. And the registrar, who I've known for all 15 years, literally came out yesterday and said, look, I am not going to host registration until I am 100% convinced that the system is working and it's not going to give trouble to our students. And we've had engineers from the company and our IT team trying to figure out the source of the problem. Regardless of what happens, if we have to register students manually, we'll register students manually. We will guarantee that students will have classes in the fall, and it will be fair and equitable to everyone participating in their time ticket for registration, regardless of the method that we have to deliver it.
Yeah, and before, I want to make sure that we mention this because I know we typed the answer, but specific family programming that we have available, i.e. like family weekend and more. And so if y'all wanted to kind of get inside a little bit just to show what we have available for family and parents.
Yeah, that is such an important question because the William and Mary experience is not just for our students, it's for their family members and their supporters. And I'm hopeful that the Shockleys and the Daggets can touch on their experience as family members and just share a little bit about what that experience has been like. But yes, there is a family weekend in the fall semester. Incredibly hopeful to have it in person this fall so that you can experience William and Mary in its full glory. There's also a full family orientation program that runs concurrent to your students' orientation program. We have a monthly webinar series to teach you about different resources, programs, and events on campus, a monthly newsletter to share all of those helpful resources, tips, and tricks with you, and a variety of other resources as well. But I would love to hear the Shockleys and the Daggets talk about their experiences as a family member at William and Mary.
I think we've already mentioned how we have, as a family, fallen in love with College of William and Mary. And we had no connection whatsoever when our daughter decided to go to school there. No family connection, no state connection. We just, people in North Carolina don't know about William and Mary.
I'd never been there.
Yeah, so we really have fallen head over heels. And I will say that the communication from the college to parents is superb. And we do now have a comparison with this other school where our second daughter attends, and it's night and day. I mean, William and Mary tries very, very hard to keep the parents informed on major things that are going on campus, to include us when they have the family weekend in the fall, and to include us on things like homecoming and the Yule log. I mean, it's just on and on and on. If anything's happening on campus, you will hear about it, and you can get involved to whatever level you want to be involved. But we definitely feel like it's been a family experience, not just our daughter's experience.
And Cynthia and I and the Shockleys have been part of the Parent Family Council. And I can say that has been very, very rewarding for us. We have gotten insight to professors, some of which are leaders in their subjects, not only in the country, but in the world. We've gotten to go to guest lectures. We have gotten some insights in behind the scenes activities that we have thought have been very, very beneficial. So I would encourage others to also look into that, and either Heather or Anna can always help you with that. But and again, Parents Weekend, you get a menu of different lectures you can go to. I just wish that there's more time in the day, because I'm running from lecture to lecture, on psychology and constitutional law and politics, and they're just wonderful, and you feel very engaged in the William and Mary community.
I will warn you that for family weekend, do not expect your student to come and spend the whole weekend with you.
or
That
any
was
of the
not our
weekend.
experience, because by the time family weekend comes along, your student is fully engaged with their new friends and their new activities, and they might have dinner with you one night if you're lucky.
In fact, the last parent family weekend, we had to have dinner with the extern I hosted in my office, who is an exchange student from China. So that's who we had dinner with, because his parents couldn't come from China and our daughter didn't have time for us.
And our experience has only been through the lens of COVID. And
Yeah.
I have to give kudos to Anna Cease and Heather and Mark and Ginger and everyone. They've been so thoughtful with engagement through Zoom. I mean, that's really hard to do, but I know that when they really have been creative, because when this thing turns off, I know they're thinking about, okay, how do we engage parents? How do we make sure they're connected? And the communication is thoughtful. You can tell every word they spend time on. And we're really appreciative of that, because we know we haven't been able to come and do some of the things that the Daggetts have done, but we do feel connected. And Anna does exist. We ran into her. It was serendipity that we ran into her at a park. She is 3-dimensional, and that was lovely to see. So that was also very nice. Yeah, she has a family and everything. So yeah. But thanks to the college and to the staff there, it's not feigned. They really do care.
But getting involved with parent-family council, it makes a difference.
It really does. It's been.
If you care about getting involved, it would.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thank you, Chris and Kyle. Your words are very kind. And we will definitely miss Cynthia and David. It's been a short 4 years.
It really
Yes.
has.
Mm-hmm. So families, I hope you get from this that it is truly a very caring community. I think that our 2 volunteer families have exhibited that today, and I'm grateful for their perspective on that.
And Daggett, I did look up your daughter's dean certification, so I now know where she's going, and I'm very impressed and proud of her.
Yes.
I will not say it until it's her news to share, but
Yes.
congratulations to her.
Yes.
She tells me the announcement is imminent, but it hasn't happened yet. I keep checking. So.
Yes.
Well, I think this is I know we've got a few more questions that I could speed round real quick. I know some of them are a little bit deeper questions. Some of them are pretty basic.
Sure.
So one of them is, how do your kids choose their roommate? I mean, you can go random. You can do I know we kind of mentioned it with Residence Hall. You can do the form that you fill out. You can, if you meet someone through Facebook, you can go through there. Or there's.
I will tell you very quickly. We were in a session with the Residence Hall director, and the question I asked is, are you more successful if you pick your roommate or if you go random and have them assign? The assigned random roommate pairs are more successful than the ones that you self-select. And the reason is you self-select somebody that you like and that you're friends with. They pair you with somebody who you might not be best friends with, but that you have similar compatible living habits. And you can get your friends elsewhere. You don't necessarily need to live with your best friend, but having compatible living habits, the housing office does a wonderful, wonderful job of that.
Just make sure that your students are filling out the forms in May that actually are who they are, not who they want to be,
Right.
or that mom and dad's aspirationally hope they should be. My daughter, who is the 9th grader, I don't know who's going to live with her in 4 years because she's the biggest slob ever. But her room still smells better than my son's.
Yes, you experience. So we experimented with the older one and did some not so good things. So you learn. The younger one, she's going random, and we're going to trust the process because she kind of watched what happened there. So yes, we think that's going to be a great thing. So
And random's not the right word. It's not random.
yeah, it's not random.
They
Highly
call it that.
selective
It's not
scientific-
random. It's hand selected and matched very nicely.
Yeah, highly selective scientific process.
Yes.
I think ultimately, the thing I would say is you have to make a decision for what your student needs and what you know about them. If you feel as if that they need to go ahead and look at Facebook and to make those arrangements now, there is no wrong answer with it. I have say that we have more success over time with the random selection, just as families have said. But if you're I would think that my son is going to be like, I want to know who I'm going to live with. I need to know who they are. We need to meet this summer and go over the room's going to look like, whatever that may be. That's okay too. We're just sharing our experiences of what we have done here. So there's no wrong answer.
Well, I just want to thank you all so much for the attendees of joining and the panelists. Thank you all so much, everyone, for joining us for this session. And I know there's a few more questions that we didn't get to, so feel free to email us. We'd be happy to answer any of those questions. Or you can join the other. I know we've got some department chats tomorrow. This is the tail end of the digital days for admitted students. So I know that, it's kind of wrapping up. Hopefully most of your questions have gotten answered, but please reach out if you have any more questions between now and deposit day. So thank you all so much. And I'll start the awkward wave goodbye through Zoom. So see y'all later. And hope
Bye,
everyone has a great-
Shockley's. Bye, Daggett. It was great to see
Bye,
you.
so long.
Bye.